It was a typical Friday afternoon in the bustling city of Crestview as Marcus, a 15-year-old boy, settled into his seat on the train. He was returning home from a summer spent at his grandmother's house, where he had earned some extra cash helping a family friend. The rhythmic clatter of the train on the tracks was a familiar comfort, but today, Marcus felt a tinge of boredom wash over him. With his phone in hand, he lost himself in videos, hoping to escape the monotony of the journey. Seated across from him was Alyssa, a heavily pregnant woman who appeared to be in distress. Despite the air conditioning humming softly above, beads of sweat glistened on her forehead, and her fingers fidgeted nervously with her dress. As she shifted in her seat, her eyes darted around the nearly empty train carriage, her anxiety palpable. Marcus couldn't help but glance up from his screen. Her discomfort was hard to ignore. Suddenly, a soft cry escaped Alyssa's lips, a sound so faint it might have been lost in the cacophony of the train. But it snapped Marcus back to reality, his instincts kicking in as he paused his video. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern about etching itself on his young face. "No, I'm not," Alyssa gasped, her breath quickening as she clutched her belly, a pained expression crossing her features. Sweat trickled down her face as she fought against the urge to cry out. Marcus felt his heart race. It was clear she needed help, and quickly. The carriage was sparsely populated, with just a few other passengers seated nearby. He shot to his feet, ready to rush for assistance, but Alyssa's hand shot out to grasp his arm. "No, please don't get help. Just give me your phone." Her voice trembled, a mix of desperation and determination. Marcus hesitated, torn between his instinct to help her and her insistence on keeping the situation quiet. "But you need help." "Not just my phone," he replied, frustration creeping into his tone. Still, Alyssa's eyes locked onto his, filled with a pleading urgency that made him pause. "Just trust me. I need to make a call," she urged, her hands trembling as she reached for his phone. Reluctantly, he handed it over, watching as she dialed a number, her fingers shaky and uncertain. As she waited for the call to connect, Marcus suggested she get off at the next stop, where she could receive proper medical attention. But Alyssa shook her head, her resolve unwavering. "I can't," she whispered. "I have to make it to Brookdale Station." The name struck him. It was 2 stops away. Why would she risk it? Her call went through, and she spoke in hushed, urgent tones, revealing the gravity of her situation. She was going into labor far too early. As she hung up, she thanked Marcus profusely, her voice filled with a mix of pain and relief. Yet he remained troubled. Why was she so intent on continuing her journey alone? As Marcus sat beside her, holding her hand in a supportive grip, he recalled his own childhood, a tapestry woven with the threads of struggle and resilience. His parents worked tirelessly to provide for him, teaching him the value of hard work and compassion. Summer vacations spent at his grandmother's had been his escape, a chance to contribute to his family's well-being and save for the things he needed for school. This moment felt like a test of his character. "Breathe with me," he instructed gently, hoping to distract her from the pain. He had seen similar techniques on TV, and he was determined to try anything that might help her through this ordeal. Alyssa gripped his hand tightly, her knuckles widening as she focused on taking deep breaths. The train roared onward, and at last they approached her stop. As the doors swung open, Alyssa looked at Marcus with pleading eyes. "Please, help me up." Without hesitation, he assisted her, his heart racing as they maneuvered toward the exit. Just then, a man entered the train, his eyes widening in shock as he recognized Alyssa. "Alyssa!" he exclaimed, rushing toward her. Marcus stepped back, feeling a wave of relief wash over him as the man, who Marcus soon learned was Alyssa's husband, Cameron, took most of her weight and guided her off the train. To Marcus's surprise, an ambulance awaited them at the platform, sirens blaring as paramedics swiftly took charge. In moments, Alyssa was loaded into the ambulance, leaving Marcus with a heart full of concern and worry. He returned to his seat, his thoughts swirling around the woman he had just met. Had he made the right choice by respecting her wishes? Not to get help sooner? The weight of responsibility hung heavily on him as he disembarked at his stop, his mind racing with questions. He was haunted by the thought of Alyssa and her baby, wondering if they were safe, if he could have done more. That night, sleep eluded him as he replayed the day's events in his mind, wishing he could erase the uncertainty that gnawed at him. The following morning, while helping his father in the yard, Marcus felt his phone vibrate in his pocket. Curious, he pulled it out and stared in disbelief at the text from an unknown number. "This is Alyssa from the train. Thank you so much for what you did yesterday. You're a lifesaver. I have a surprise for you at the hospital." His heart leaped with a mix of hesitation and intrigue. He hadn't acted heroically for a reward, but something deep within urged him to see Alyssa again, to confirm she was all right. After freshening up, he made his way to the hospital, anticipation bubbling inside him. As he entered the hospital, he immediately noticed the heightened security presence. Police officers surrounded the perimeter, and he felt a twinge of unease as he approached Alyssa's room. An officer stopped him, inquiring about his purpose. After explaining, he was patted down and allowed to proceed, a sense of urgency filling the air. When he stepped into Alyssa's room, he was taken aback. The woman he had seen in distress was now radiant, a serene smile lighting up her face. Beside her stood Cameron, proudly holding a tiny bundle wrapped in a soft blanket. "This is our baby, Sophia," Alyssa beamed, her joy infectious. "Thank you for being there for me, Marcus," Alyssa continued, her voice filled with gratitude. "Your kindness saved my life and my daughter's." Marcus felt overwhelmed, unsure how to process her words. "I just lent you my phone," he murmured, still grappling with the impact of what had transpired. But Alyssa's story unfolded further, revealing layers he had never imagined. She was a successful entrepreneur, a millionaire who had built her own business empire from the ground up. Her life had been filled with hard work and determination, yet it had been disrupted by a relentless stalker named Eric. He had approached her at a conference, professing his love in a way that made her skin crawl. At first, she brushed him off, thinking he would fade into the background, but he had other plans. His obsession escalated to the point where she had to involve the police, but Eric's cunning allowed him to evade justice, and his harassment continued. Then came the day Alyssa was pulled over on her way home from an appointment, only to discover that Eric had disguised himself as an officer. The encounter left her traumatized, and she fought for her freedom, eventually escaping from him with a strength she never knew she possessed. Listening to Alyssa recount her harrowing experience, Marcus felt a swell of admiration for her courage. She had faced unimaginable fear and uncertainty, yet here she was, filled with hope and surrounded by love. "Marcus," she said, breaking his reverie, "you didn't just help a stranger. You saved my life. I want you to have this." She handed him a small envelope, and as he opened it, his eyes widened. Inside was a scholarship voucher to a prestigious school, a golden opportunity to secure his future. "No, I can't accept this," he began, but Alyssa smiled, shaking her head. "You deserve it. Your kindness and bravery deserve to be rewarded. Use it to chase your dreams, Marcus. You've already changed our lives. Let this be a chance for you to change yours." With tears brimming in his eyes, Marcus realized that this unexpected encounter had not only impacted Alyssa's life, but had also changed the course of his own. He accepted the voucher, filled with gratitude and a renewed sense of purpose. As he left the hospital, the sun shining bright above, he felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. Marcus knew that he would carry this day with him forever. A day when a simple act of kindness transformed lives, forging an unbreakable bond between strangers.